Welcome back, everyone. It's just me for right now. We're going to bring in Lawrence for a second interview, but I just sort of wanted to give everyone an update. It's the new year, 2026, and we've had a lot going on. And yeah, we're sorry that we didn't get out all the episodes we wanted to, but we have some really awesome guests coming up soon, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, first and foremost, we have a really exciting and important announcement. 10 years ago, I had my first ever online training log. I had a coach that was coaching me. He lived on the other side of the country, and we needed to figure out a system to stay organized, for him to have, quick updates of how my runs went, how I felt, how my workouts were going. And so I made a TrainingPeaks account. I had an AOL email. That's how long ago it was. I don't even know if you can make an AOL email anymore. And that relationship has now continued to Hammer and Axe. We're incredibly excited to announce that TrainingPeaks has signed a 2-year deal with Hammer and Axe, and we will be exclusively using TrainingPeaks for our one-on-one coaching and all of our training plans. This is really exciting. TrainingPeaks is right in our backyard. They're a Colorado-based company, so we really feel like we can thrive with the relationship of, just being able to meet with, TrainingPeaks right down the road. They can, be at practices with us, and they can really help support the coaches. But this partnership really feels full circle just because it was the first time I, as an athlete, used TrainingPeaks. And now as a coach, getting to use it. And so I've been on both sides of the spectrum in that partnership. And that's been something we're really excited and really, proud to announce. And I couldn't be more excited. All of the coaches are already onboarded, already coaching, and we're actually building out tons of training plans right now, so that all of the people that work with Hammer and Axe will be very well equipped for 2026 and beyond. So we couldn't be more excited, and we're really excited that this partnership is starting now. On to some other news. Like I said, this is a kind of a hybrid HAX Show episode. I'm going to be talking for a bit, so I've never done this before. So I'm sorry if I'm not great at this right away. Cut me some slack, but. Yeah, I really just want to talk about like my life and sort of an update with everything. Obviously, I just told you about, TrainingPeaks and Hammer and Axe. That's becoming, something that is sort of coming back into my life. Full, transparency. Like, when I said bye to Tim and Elite, the team, like my life was really focused on just running and my family, and that was great. But I really wanted to have something else outside of that. I explored looking at some jobs or, working part-time or doing, just doing something that took some of my headspace away from my own running. And I really felt strongly that growing Hammer and Axe and expanding that was something that, was really important. And so that's why the TrainingPeaks thing sort of happened is, I really wanted to bring Rachel, our intern, on, more of a full-time capacity, provide our coaches with the best software to, really, really help them just balance, their own running, but also like coaching athletes. And that was sort of my big project the last, few months leading into 2026. But on top of that, my wife and I decided that it was a really good time for us to grow our family. And so we have another baby, our third child, due in late July, which is really, really something we've prayed a lot about. And we really wanted to continue to grow our family. And so this was something that, a lot of track athletes have to, decide and, sort of figure out what timeline makes sense. I think there's a lot of like really exciting things to chase on the track. And sometimes like, you don't want your family life or things like that to get in the way. And my wife and I have always tried to find a balance with that, like prioritizing, having the family we want, having, as many children as we feel like, God's calling us to have, but at the same time, not, setting myself up so that running isn't also a priority. And so this year is a sort of a unique year. 2026 is not a traditional world championship year. You're not going to qualify for, like, last year was Tokyo Worlds. And then obviously before that was the Olympics. And so we felt like, having a baby now was a good sort of time to do that and to grow our family. And so, late July, the due date is actually July 28th, which is cool for sort of two reasons. A, it's the same weekend as the USA Track and Field Championships. So I won't be racing there this year, but it's for a good reason. But B, that's actually my wife and I's wedding anniversary. So we thought that was pretty special. And yeah, once we sort of found out this news, I sort of, had to take a step back, and I wanted to shape a track season and sort of a year based around, having a new kid and having, our family grow, but also have like goals that are different just because there's not a Worlds this year. It's really like simple every year when there's an Olympics or World Championships. Everybody has the same goals. It's like you get top 3 and you try to go get a medal. That's what our sport has clearly, put at the top of the hierarchy in terms of like what's valuable is, you have to be at USA's, you have to try to get top 3, and then you want to go get a medal. That's what all the best track athletes are doing. But in a year like this, it sort of gives you some flexibility to explore some new things. A lot of people will run a new event. Some people will, maybe do an indoor season for the first time in a while, or they'll try a longer road race. I'm sure you'll start to see probably lots of different athletes sort of having, new announcements about trying something new, or, coming back to the track for a first time in a few years. A lot of marathoners like to do that. So, what I decided to do this year is, my big goal is to qualify for the World Road Running Championships in either the road mile or 5K. That's in September. So it is like, 2 months after the baby's born. So we're going to see how I can manage training after that. But the really nice thing is the qualifiers are way earlier in the year. So after I got 3rd place last year at 5th Avenue in the road mile, and I've won USA 5K championships before, I felt like, I just enjoy road racing. It's really fun. It's low pressure. We do a lot of training on the road. So I think naturally it's something that I like enjoy and have become pretty good at. But B, I think, just with how the year lines up, it makes a lot more sense for me to attack like April and, May and have big races then. And then sort of like, just train once life gets crazy over the summer. And so that's sort of the approach I'm taking this year. And that's why that's my big goal. So how that's going to look structure-wise is I'm hitting a pretty hard indoor season. I'm running my first sort of full indoor season in 2 years. I've run 2 years ago, I didn't run a single indoor race. Last year, I ran one 5K at the end of the season just to see where I was at fitness wise. And, but I hadn't had multiple races. And so this year I'm really attacking indoor, and sort of carrying that momentum into outdoors. So I already opened up my season at Kansas State, very, very low key. I ran a 3K, I ran 7:39, basically completely solo, which is actually technically a PB. It's a very old PB. I'm a lot better of a runner than that, but it was nice to do that. And I got to travel with my teammates and get on a 200-meter bank track, which Rachel and I were talking about on the drive up here. Like, I don't get to train on a bank track like that. And so I think it's important that before, my big race, Millrose in, February 1st, that I, just feel the rhythm of the 200-meter bank track, like learn to run fast on it and sort of just show up there sharp and prepared. I think that race is a world record attempt race. And so that's sort of my big focus for the indoors, in 2 weeks, be really ready to go for Millrose. So I ran at Kansas State. I'm going to actually run the local CU mile on a full week of training this week. So this Saturday, I'm going to be running the mile at CU, and just really, it's just a blowout rep. It's at altitude. So you're obviously not trying to run the fastest you've ever run. It's more of go through the race day nerves, go through the routines, sort of see, what what you can do in this. I think actually it's a mile up here is probably going to be similar to what we would go for at 2 mile at sea level pace wise. I don't know if that's how it's going to turn out, but that's sort of what what my coach and I were thinking about when we were sort of structuring these, my season. And then obviously Millrose 2 mile, absolutely loaded field. Cole Hawker, Grant Fisher, Josh Kerr, Cooper Tier, Ethan Strand, Parker Wolf, you name it. I'm just honored to, be in that mix and be excited to race those guys. Like, I think on paper, I have the worst 3K PB in that field, but I think I can run with all of them and compete really, really well. And sort of the approach I'm taking is being sharp. A lot of them this will be maybe their first race. And, they're obviously the best runners in the world and guys who can medal. And so they have a big leg up on me in terms of, what they've accomplished. But I do think the last month of training has been really, preparing me to be ready for 60-second laps and closing off of that. So that's my indoor season. I have one more 5K after Millrose. It's an ASIC sponsored race in North Carolina. I'm on a brand new bank 200 meter track. That is going to be sort of like the end of my indoor season. So I'll call it there. That would be I think that's February 14th. And I'll run a 5K there. And the goal there is obviously just to run a very solid 5K PB. I'm 2 years due I've got some dusty old PRs that need to go. So I'm just looking to run fast this indoor season. And yeah, I'm really not stopping. I think a lot of times after indoor, athletes will take a break, mental reset, sort of, you've been working really hard, especially at indoor track. It can beat up your body a lot. It's cold out while you're doing a lot of hard intervals, but I'm hoping to just keep the momentum going because in March, I'm going to run my New York City half marathon debut, which I'm really excited about. That's a race I've been wanting to do my whole career. I finally feel like I'm mature enough, strong enough, healthy enough to run a successful half. And it'll be interesting. I remember when I was first even texting and talking with my agent and I told him I wanted a New York City half and he was like, a month after your indoor season? He's like, no one does that. And I was like, exactly. I want to do things that challenge me and excite me. And so doing something like that is, like I said, I have no idea how it's going to go. Managing running 60-second laps at Millrose versus, 61 minutes for a half marathon is very different training. But as I've learned over the last few years, for me to be good at one thing means I need to be good at everything. And so the approach I'm taking is that to be a good half marathon runner, I also need to also be fast. And to be fast, I need to be a good half marathon runner. So, and then, like I said, April is sort of the qualifiers. So big focus there is attacking USA Road 5K champs and USA Road Mile champs, which is end of April and beginning of May. And yeah, a lot of that sort of frees up what I do the rest of the summer before the baby gets here. If I qualify for one of those road teams, then I would probably, focus on training, maybe run some track races in June and early July before the baby gets here. And then, after that, I would really start to, rest come July and refocus on family and not, traveling and all that. But then if not, like I was saying, I'd love to run a 1500 PR, love to run a 5K PR. I think, I'm very capable and very, healthy and moving well, that all of those things are, bound to happen if I'm in the right race. And so I have a mini track season planned after those road races. And, yeah, like I said, all of that, the goal is to qualify for the World Road Running Champs. That's the big goal. It's in Copenhagen in September. And, yeah, I really, like I said, couldn't be more excited. But yeah, that's my life update. Thank you everyone for listening. We are going to take a little break here and then we're going to move to the second part of the show, which is me talking to my good friend Lawrence. And we're going to talk about some really cool and exciting things with him. So thank you. As I promised, I'm back with my friend Lawrence and we have a lot of really exciting things to talk about today. But yeah, Lawrence, how's the new year been?
So far so good.
That's good.
Do you know the joke about so far so good?
No, let's hear it.
Oh, this Superman flies into a rooftop bar in New York, and there's an Irishman who's a bit too deep in his Irish whiskey, and he says, Superman, you're such a show-off. Everyone knows you're just flying on the updrafts. So Superman's had a tough day. He says, really? He says, I bet you $100 that I could jump off the side of the building and the updrafts will just float me back up. So Superman says, go for it. So the Irishman walks boldly to the edge of the building and jumps off. And Superman sort of, with his cape, just flies down. And he's next to the Irishman. He says, so how are we doing? And he says, so far, so good.
That's good. That's good.
That'll reframe so far, so good.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever want to say that now. So I'm never going to use that response. No, that's really funny. But it is so far so good for you because you launched a course.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to know what inspired the course, because we've talked a little bit off camera about it, but you had some very, very respectable, awesome mentors, friends that were like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this. And you said, no, I'm going to do it. So what inspired the course and who's it for?
I tend to work a lot with sort of elite people for various reasons, and also desperate people where the system sort of failed them. And so I kind of feel like I owe it to the people out there who have fallen through the cracks or really, really struggled, who have sort of tried everything and struggle. I think there's a big shift. So the last time I did a running course was in sort of COVID times, and it went really well and it was really easy to sell. And I thought, I can do this at the click of a finger. And then we changed platforms, and then I tried to get it better, and I wanted it perfect, and then I overthought it. And anyway, it took 6 years to do another one.
Here we are. So far, so good.
But I think the climate has changed dramatically. I think with AI, you're kind of experiencing a similar thing. Is primarily this is it's live and recorded. So if you're in a wrong time zone and you miss a session, you can get the recording. But there is an element of live, and I think that's what people really do want now, because there's so much free content, and I think the AI content is actually getting pretty darn good. So it's to create the energy of a live cohort. I think it would be great for people running spring marathons. I'm running London Marathon 5 days after the course ends. And so, you can get a sense of excitement, a sense of participation, a sense of community, which is really important. The community is the coach. So we're doing along those lines. But yeah, people that are pretty influential in the space said, online, everything is for free.
Yeah.
So you can't sell online content like you used to. And I agree. You had to put a lot of time and effort into marketing it. And there's a lot of trust built up around this. I don't think many people could have a successful running course just off the bat. I think, I'm weighing heavily on the trust of people. So I better deliver.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think we're going to knock it out the park.
Yeah, no, it was, I thought that was interesting. And I've seen that in, just through Hammer and Axe and our own business as well. It's like, there is this shift back to like a few years ago. It was like before AI and stuff. It was like, an online running course. That's exactly what I want and I need. And, people are looking for, those sorts of outlets just to have a, group of people. And now you can go in and tell, Grok or ChatGPT or Gemini, hey, make me a run training plan. And it's a pretty good run training plan, but they want to talk about running, and they want people to talk to about running, especially as they get excited. I always tell this story of my friend. He ran I think it was like the Duluth Marathon or Grandma's. I can't remember exactly. It was a marathon in Minnesota. So someone will know and correct me, but he used AI to write his training, and he ran well. He ran like a 5-minute PR and everything was good. And he's like, but throughout the weeks of the course, I got more excited about my running. I got more into it, and I had nobody to talk to about it.
Yeah.
I didn't have you to say Drew, what do you think about this? And in a real human. And I think that is sort of what your course is going to do a good job of, is providing the structure of how you're going to help people get better at running, but also that you're going to be there actually providing live feedback and real human interactions.
Yeah, I think the touch points are really important. And often with relationships, you know, when you like starting to work with an athlete, I say, look, it's really cool in the beginning when everything's improving and there's noticeable improvements and the low hanging fruit's getting taken care of. The hard part is when I say, yeah, I don't think that's going to work out, or what have you been doing? Because you're showing up, you're taking steps backwards or sideways, you know, and AI could never do that for you. Not at this stage.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you know, in Africa, they have a saying, if you want to go fast, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with friends. And, you know, like marathon training in these preparations, it's far. You need community, accountability. And I think the big thing is, what I really want to do is generate live workshops. So we could do a live workshop and then you could get like the cohort afterwards, you know, the 12-week as part of a live is the organic learning. So like when one person in a room figures it out, everyone figures out a movement. It's absolutely, it's one of the most creepy is not the right word. It's one of the most sort of intriguing things. You know, you're trying to show a move and no one's getting it, and someone at the back of the room gets it, and suddenly it just ripples through the whole room. They get it. There's this weird collective consciousness and synergy. And then also, you know, you with a cohort and with these things, you find the pain points. You find the common pain points. You know, for me, a lot of things are really, really easy. Well, why wouldn't you do it that way? And a lot of people, it's not. You know, so. Someone will ask a question that you might be too scared to answer. Or, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? So I think that a lot of good comes out of them. I'm excited. The response has been really, really good. So I'm pretty blessed and happy and motivated, and now we've got a lot of work to do. Yeah,
I love that. Can you? I want to talk about a lot of the marketing and messaging and sort of the audience response, but I do want you to talk a little bit about what's inside the course for people that are listening that are like, what will I get if I sign up for this course? Can you just talk about like the key takeaways and how it could fit into someone's training year, and who should sign up and maybe who shouldn't?
Okay, so what it's not is coaching. Coaching is provided by Hammer and Axe. and that'll be great too, because we can, you know, I know all the coaches that will be involved and we can personally discuss what each individual would sort of need. But it's more about movement and understanding the fundamentals of running and getting a real good handle on the stuff that moves the needle, that you can invest your time and energy in for a long period of time. I think running, there's an extraordinarily large body of knowledge out there that works well in the short term, but I don't think it continues to pay dividends. And the running revamp course is just a big pullback and say, if you immerse yourselves in this, you can immerse yourselves in this for the rest of your life. And the big goal is to get people running injury free and trusting their running. It's kind of like what you're experiencing now, you know, just listen to you talking about your 2026. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
More dad strength.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Double down on the dad strength.
We're tripling down now. Yeah.
You know, it's just you approaching the whole year with a sense of confidence and you making plans. And, you know, many people, I've worked with people that want to get to the Olympics or US trials, and they're like, they get injured every 6 months and they accept it as a norm.
Yeah.
There's no like, well, I'm going to train really hard, then we'll race, and then I'm going to be injured because that's 6 months, and then I'm going to try
I'll figure it out.
You know, see if there's a second half of the year. So that sense of trusting your body and your training and the confidence, and you know, that's healthy. I want healthy running for everyone. You know, I managed to reframe my running, and it's brought a lot of joy to me. It makes a hard thing. Running is always a sport of consequence, and it's always kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's certainly not an easy sport.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, but I don't think it has to be harder than it needs to be. And to remove the sense of doubt, fear, some people have a bad relationship with it. And remember, like ultimately, I use the sort of the lion analogy. You know, lions sit and they'll watch a herd of wildebeest come past and they'll pick the weakest link.
Yeah.
You know, the injured one, the one with the limp. And, you know, really, it speaks on some sort of deeper level if you don't trust your body to actually just train consistently. Like what, that's not really where people should be. And given the sort of extraordinary times that we live in with fast changing, I think people need to be creative, adaptable, and they certainly deserve to at least trust their running. Yeah. Running makes life better.
It does. I completely agree. And running well and moving well makes life a lot better. Yeah. So would you say, like you mentioned a little bit, like, and we'll talk about your London build and how you're going to use it, but for a lot of people running a spring marathon, this can be sort of like, it can partner alongside your run training. Yeah. Is that what you would suggest for some people?
Yeah, I'm really confident that almost everyone that goes through the program will run better than they were running on the other side and will have a positive outcome. And we're certainly going to have a long, hard look if that doesn't happen with anyone, because that's how you get better, is by the failures or the not achieving it. So even at an elite level, I'd be confident to say, you could join up. You'd have to be sensible, but it's, this is one of the reasons, I haven't done sort of this online running course for 6 years, is because we were really trying to dial it down so that, one, it works remotely, and two, it's really, really safe, and three, it's really, really effective. Like, it had to tick those 3 boxes. And if a pro athlete said, I'm running London, but I'm racing in the pro field, could I join? It'd have to be, might not be the best solution or the best time, but I'd confidently say yes.
Yeah.
And then it's for all levels. It's like, probably the beginners will benefit the most. And if you're new to running, I think it's great to learn the real fundamentals first before the noise hits you, because there's so much, I call it noise. It's like, it's stimulus without a response out there on Instagram. It's deafening and it's overwhelming and it's compelling. These are charismatic people.
Yeah, totally.
They've got a strong message. They're hammering it home.
It's not a good recipe. Yeah. I agree. I do think anyone would benefit from it, and just seeing some of the materials, obviously stuff that we've worked on together. I think it, can help any runner. I am interested. You've been sort of thrown into this. I don't know if I'm going to use the word influencer. Some people like being called an influencer. I don't, but Lawrence is good at influencing. So maybe we'll call him that. But you've been sort of thrown into, this world of, like you said, like learning how to market yourself and market this course, and, working with, people like me and different clients and seeing what works, and, having a protocol. I'm just so curious, like, what have you learned launching this course from like a marketing standpoint? Like, are you like, this is what I would do next time, this isn't what I would do? And you don't have to go into everything. I just, as a, entrepreneur in the running space, like, I'm very curious on just like how that's all worked, and like, has that something you like, or is it just stressed you out beyond belief?
No, I'm a reluctant influencer, and I don't like looking at myself on camera. I don't like the sound of my own voice. I just often bash it out there and get off the screen as quickly as possible. I'm very, very unfortunate. There's 2 really key influential people. There's a couple of influential people. The Happy Pair's going to get an honorable mention here. But one is Chris Evans, whom I'm running the London Marathon with. So he's a radio DJ in the UK. And I mean, he's met every single rock star there is to meet in the world. Like, if he hasn't met you or had him at one stage, had you on his show, you're not a rock star.
You're not a rock star yet. Okay. Oh, man, that's a bummer for
or
me.
Or TV star or whatever. So talking to him was really interesting. And he said, just be yourself, double down on your authenticity. Don't try and be anyone else. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
So I think, and Rangan Chatterjee, who's like the largest health podcast in Europe and kind of a big deal. He's interesting because he's a medical trained doctor. He was also pretty influential in just saying, Lawrence, whatever you've got, just trust it and go for it.
Yeah.
And so having people like that validate you, and they're both people that don't need to motivate, aren't likely to motivate, and didn't need to say things like that, I think gave me a lot of confidence to really sort of lean into it more.
Yeah.
And then I think coming with that is, it's easy to market if people trust you. And I built that trust over, I got a comment on YouTube. Someone said, thank you, this advice was spot on. It was amazing. And that's 3 for 3. You've solved 3 problems that no one else could solve. If I'm having a down day, I can just go and read comments on Instagram, generally speaking, or YouTube, and it's pretty rewarding. And so I have a deep sense of trust. It's authentic in the work that I do, and I think it's easy to market from that place because I'm not trying to swindle anyone. I'm not trying to, So from those points of view, Yeah, it's interesting. And then I kind of like the dynamicism, the fast moving aspect of it. I've got a planner on board now, so it's a little bit more strategic.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel like is when you launched the course, what were the biggest pain points? What were things that you were like, didn't expect, or what were things, that surprised you? And what do you feel like really made a big difference? You obviously said like the trust aspect, like that's first and foremost. No one's going to buy something from you if they're like, especially, we've talked about this, like Americans are like, if we feel like you're ripping us off, we're going to run the other way. But yeah, I think like, I'm just curious, like, do you feel like, what was the hardest part in launching it? Was it like the organizational of like what we're doing all this 12 weeks, or was it that easy because you already had that in your head? It was just getting it out there.
Yeah, the content's easy for me. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
The content's easy for me, and what to do and what to teach. And so that's not a problem. I think the hardest thing was actually setting pricing, because there's no precedent. I couldn't really find a competitive of this kind of cohort.
Yeah.
There are people that do these kind of things and charge more than me. I just don't think they've got the credibility, to be honest. So I was like, okay. And then there's just some learning curves. Like we did an early bird launch, it was too short. Like people thought they had time, and then suddenly the early bird stopped, and we ended up, it got coded into my website. It wasn't some button or drag and drop paste. Click. So when the early bird ended, it ended.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people were like, no, give me the early bird. And I'm like, yeah, I can't stand. So I think that, I don't know. It's actually been pretty cool and pretty, it's gone sort of from strength to strength. I think, yes, there's a lot of learning curve. I was really nervous before.
Yeah.
It was so easy to market to I'm just going to give advice, which you shouldn't really do, and certainly out of my lane. If you find something that works in life and it seems too easy, just double down on it.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, I thought it was really easy to do what I've just done. And that was 6 years ago. Now, like, as you know, it's not. It's competitive. There's a lot of people, putting a lot of money. And I think there's vanity projects out there. I really do think there's a lot of, I don't know, I suppose you could call it, it's just not, what you see is not what you get. Or people are influencers, but it's not profitable.
Yeah.
Or they inflate their numbers, or, there aren't that many people going out there. So it's, to cut through the noise and to help people is a lot harder than it used to be. And what I should have done 6 years ago is just really dialed down and kept at it.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think because you learn by your mistakes, and you could just got to take a leap of faith and fly.
Yeah. Do you, would you do this again? Like after the 12 weeks is up, or are you like, I want to do this type of course next, or can there be like something else out there for people in the future to get excited about?
No, I'm really passionate about this, like helping people run better. I really am.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very rewarding. It's very empowering for people, and people need to be empowered and trust their bodies. And we're going to go through the most extraordinary, it's not limited to 5 years, but the next 5 years, I think, is probably be one of the most changeful 5 years in the history of humankind. And so it would be great. So many people run as stress relief, run to manage their life, bring a bit of sanity to the chaos. So I'm really pumped. So we'll definitely do it next year. I got an extraordinarily good response to a pelvic floor master class. So I think the next one might actually be on pelvic floor. And I really like the pelvic floor because the pelvic floor is almost like a truth engine. Like if you start really basically, your pelvic floor must move with your diaphragm. And people go, oh, okay, that sounds reasonable. And then it contracts with this, and then you layer it up, and you take people in a journey, and they go, "Oh, that's why you say you have to do it this way."
Yeah,
so I really like that because like one of my bugbears is people say you need a strong, stable pelvis, and you don't. You need a dynamic, fluid, active pelvis, and the quickest way to segue, one of the easiest ways to segue into that is through your sort of hip functional pelvic floor course or pelvis course. And then also I think, I know I'm going on a bit, but I think what will happen is once you understand your pelvis, a lot of other things sort of fall into place and make sense. And also, if your pelvis doesn't work, you can go like, oh, that's really going to limit me and kill my talent off and make me very, very injury prone. So I think for a lot of people go, oh, that's a pain point that I have to address. There is no world where you can run sustainably healthily with a dysfunctional pelvis.
Yeah. No, that is super valuable. I think people would also like that. And that's,
Men and women.
Yes, totally. Yeah. Yeah. My wife's pregnant. Pelvic floor is really important, but also pelvic floor is really important for me too. We can do it together.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to wrap up here, but I do want to talk about London Marathon. Cause you're racing London, running London. Sorry. What's the difference? Tell me the difference.
Racing, there would be an element of competing.
Okay.
Whereas I'm running with my friend.
Okay. You're running London Marathon.
It's a running experience. It's not, I want to have a good time.
Yeah. How are you going to train for that race? Not outside of the course. Like what runs prep stuff are you doing?
So I think people might find this interesting. I'm pretty intrigued by rucking, and one session a week will be a ruck.
Nice.
Not too heavy, not too dramatic. I really think there's a valid place for walking as part of marathon training. Maybe not at the elite level, but certainly my wife ran her PB marathon and she walked twice a week, 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Wow.
In the afternoons. And Amber Neben, who's a time trial at the elite level, the last time she raced competitively was, when was it? It was Paris year. She podiumed at USA Nationals and narrowly missed going to the Olympic Games at 47. And she walked 12 to 14 hours a week as part of her cycling training. So I am a big believer in the really low end base training ability of walking, and I think rucking is excellent. It really teaches people to have a stacked spine. If you know what you're doing, it amplifies the walking. I don't have time to walk 16 hours a week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add rucking, just throwing that out there. I think at my age, I'm 54 now, I'm going to run 5 times a week.
Okay,
so 2 days of no running. One day will be a rucking day. And then I'll do 2 long runs.
Yep.
It's almost like Arthur Lidgedy,
Yes.
two longer runs. Get 2 runs over an hour, because I will not run more than 2.5 hours. That's a certainty in prep. And last year with Chris, we ended up running 4.5 hours. So I think it's much safer and smarter and more efficient to do 2 long runs a week, longish runs a week. And then what I really need to do is do speed work once a week. We're kind of lazy up here in the mountains. We think running up the hills is hard enough. But we'll probably add a quality, and we might add the quality into a long run. It's like, warm up, do some intervals, and then run easy afterwards.
Yep. Yeah. No, I like that. I do think the walking is interesting. I think that's like the simplest and most probably best for your nervous system, your tendons, just for people that are obviously elite running's different. You got to do the 20-mile long run and things like that. But I like that. That's fun.
Yeah. I don't think there's no shortcuts. Well, I don't know. There's people cross training heavily in running, and in the short term of being pretty successful with it.
It's the shoes.
It's the shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. I think there is a place for some elite runners to do some rucking, because you heard it here first. I think rucking is going to blow up and become quite a big deal.
I like that. We actually know someone, Morgan Pearson. He a few years ago, this is so funny. You're just sparking a memory in my brain about rucking. He was like, when I do my marathon debut, I'm going to have a day a week where I ruck for 2 to 3 hours. And he's like, I think like that will be something. This is so funny that we're talking about this now. Yeah.
Go Morgan.
Yeah, no. And I was just like, I remember thinking like, that's interesting. I mean, no one I know is doing that, but also like, maybe he's onto something. I do think it could be interesting for, like all the downhills in a lot of the marathon courses. Like you hear so many people, they're like, I got to the end of the race. Aerobically, I was fine. My legs were just trashed.
Yeah.
So I like it. I like that. And do you have anything else going on between now, London, any other stuff? Obviously the course, any other highlights before we wrap up here?
No.
Yeah.
The running revamp is the big deal. I've got a lot of work. We're probably going to launch a podcast.
Well,
like everyone. I mean, who hasn't launched a podcast?
2026, the year of the podcast.
The year of the podcast. So launch a podcast. And I just got a lot of work to do. And I want to, my Airy app, which is the breathing app's done really well. It's got like 8,000 downloads, and I'm too scared to say it online because someone will go give me a 1-star review, but it's got nothing but 5-star reviews. I think it's got 1 4-star review. Okay. So don't be that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Just keep adding the 5s, please.
Let's be nice.
Let's be nice, play nice.
Yeah.
I want to sort of upgrade that, get a few glitches out and possibly have like a paid or donation version to that. So that would be a lot of work, the podcast. But I really want to just focus on the running revamp course and make it really, really unbelievable experience. Yeah. And then you've left us nothing because I can't really ask you about your season because you've already explained it.
I already talked all about it. Yeah, that's why we wanted you on, Lawrence. We want to talk to you. Thank you so much. This is great. Just one note. I highly recommend if anyone's on the fence. I think you'll have a few days left once this podcast is released before the course starts. So yeah, I think, like I said, I've done a lot of, some of the stuff Lawrence is going to talk about in the course. And it's been not only, career changing for me, but life changing with even just how I approach running. So I highly recommend it. And yeah, I think anyone, doing the course will be very set up well in 2026 and beyond with their running goals. So thank you, everyone. We're just getting started. We got a lot more episodes coming out and happy to be back behind the camera and 2026 is going to be great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Drew. Thanks, everyone. And don't sleep on it because when the deadline stops, the deadline stops. There is no late entry.
Love that. No late entry. Get it now.